So are the cameras on the latest Xiaomi 17 really that much better than the cameras on last year's Xiaomi 15? Well, these are both global edition phones and the camera hardware is mostly unchanged. They each have triple 50 megapixel sensors on the rear at the same camera specs and sizes, although the Xiaomi 15 has a slightly wider ultra-wide camera than the Xiaomi 17. The Xiaomi 17 does upgrade the selfie camera to a larger sensor at 50 megapixels. And although these are base level phones, they both pack pro level camera features. They both support a Pro mode for finer level of camera control. They support RAW photography as well as log video, which is what you're seeing here. Log video allows you to color correct or color grade your videos to get the precise colors that you're looking for. So a lot of pro camera features at a much lower non-flagship price point. And here's some portrait video from the front-facing cameras because for whatever reason, I can't find the portrait video or bokeh option setting for the rear cameras on the Xiaomi 15. They're obviously here on the front-facing cameras, but I cannot find them in the camera settings for the rear cameras. But with all the camera specs out of the way, all that really matters is how the cameras perform and what the photos and videos actually look like. So like I always do, I'm going to show you a bunch of photos and videos in both good and low light conditions to help you decide if the Xiaomi 17 is really better than the Xiaomi 15 for your camera needs or not. So go ahead and take a look at all the photos and videos and let me know what you think. So here's a video test of the rear cameras of the Xiaomi 17 and the Xiaomi 15. As you can see, they both are actively recording from the rear facing cameras. And I am starting out with the ultra wide angle cameras on each at 4K 60 frames per second. So I'm just going to pan around here to give you a feel for how these ultra wide angle cameras compare here side by side. Lots of the standard colors, reds, greens, and blues to compare. Also off the bat, you'll notice that the Xiaomi 15 has a slightly wider field of view over the 17. The 17 actually has a fairly narrow field of view compared to most phones, ultra wide angle cameras. And we can go ahead and move into the main camera on the Xiaomi 17 and on the 15. So now we're on the main cameras on each. And I'll do the same thing. I'll just pan around so you get a side-by-side view of the main cameras. And we'll pan down here. You can see how they handle the shadows in the trees. And we'll pan back up and how the exposure might be readjusting for the light there. Actually handled it pretty well. And we'll pan over here to the right and we'll test zoom on that cell tower. So they both have a 2.6x telephoto sensor on the Xiaomi 17 there and on the Xiaomi 15. So you can see what that looks like. And on the 15 we can zoom all the way into a 15x zoom. And we can do the same thing on the 17. So both 15x digital zoom there. See what that looks like. Both pretty steady. And we'll back them out on the 15 and on the 17. Let's get back to the main camera, 1x, and we'll test autofocus on the post with the 17 first. Might be kind of tough because of the shade here of this post, but focus is up and you can get the focus away. And one more time. And we'll try with the 15 here, which I found actually to be a little bit slower in its autofocus and general focus and shutter speed overall compared to the 17. And not that it's bad. It's just the 17 has been a little better to me. But we'll go ahead and walk down the stairs so I can show you what the stabilization looks like as I go through the stairs into the pathway here. And I'll just try to jog to stress out that stabilization as well. So there you go, quick 4K 60 frames per second video test of the rear cameras from the Xiaomi 15 and the Xiaomi 17. And we're back in the same scene at 4K 60 frames per second, the main cameras, this time with log video enabled. So this is in log video, and I've color corrected or color graded it by the time you're seeing it. And so it's nice that these base models on the 15 and the 17 both support log video. So if you like to have control over the colors of your video, this is a nice feature to have in a standard base model. You cannot switch between the cameras when recording in log. So you're gonna have to pick the lens that you want prior to hitting record. And these can shoot in log up to 4K 60, while a lot of other phones are still limited to just 30 frames per second, including the iPhone. And with this, since this is the main camera, you can move into a max 3x zoom range here, or actually no, 5x, 6x on the 15. And same thing here on the 17. So you get a 6x digital zoom range here by using the main lens. We'll back both these out. 17, and let's go with the 15 back out. And again, I'll just go ahead and walk down the stairs just so we get similar footage, but hopefully you're able to compare this to the fully auto footage that you just saw from both of these cameras and how that might compare. And if you're interested in this type of a pro level feature in a base model phone. So these are the front-facing cameras of the Xiaomi 15 and the Xiaomi 17. This is being recorded at 4K 60 frames per second, the max resolution and frame rate on each of these. And obviously I'm outdoors here, but it's some really bright light today, some really nice sunny skies, and the sun is shining directly on me. So this is the optimal chance for these cameras to look the best as possible with the exposure and everything given the lighting condition. But I'll just pan around to give you a feel for how things might change as the lighting shifts. So it's now coming more off my left. And if I pan all the way around this way, it'll become more directly into the cameras. You can see right there. And then here, just more behind me and how that exposure adjusts. And we'll keep panning around here so it's more off my right. And we'll go out to where we started. And I'll just walk to test the stabilization. So you can see what this looks like here side by side. So let me know what you think about this 4K 60 footage from the front-facing cameras on the Xiaomi 15 and the Xiaomi 17. Alright, so we're back with the front-facing cameras, this time at portrait video turned on. So there's this background bokeh effect, so it should look all blurred out. And this is being shot at 1080p 30 frames per second because that is the resolution and frame rate you're limited to while shooting with this mode turned on and this effect. So I'm in the same position as I was before, so the sun is shining directly on me. Again, the optimal chance for this to look as best as possible from a lighting perspective, because this effect does require a good amount of light. But I'll pan around again just so you can see how this holds up as the lighting condition changes, what it does to the overall exposure and the background effect especially. And I'll pan all the way back around this way so the lights are, this light is more behind me right now and now shining more directly into those cameras. And I'll keep panning around this way so the light is more off my right now and all the way back around to where we started. And again, I'll just walk so we can not only test the stabilization, but so you can see how this background effect holds up with some movement. So let me know what you think about the portrait video here, or the bokeh effect on the front-facing cameras of the Xiaomi 15 and Xiaomi 17. So here's a low light video test of the rear cameras of the Xiaomi 17 and Xiaomi 15. This is the ultra wide angle cameras to start out on each at 4K 60 frames per second. So I'm just going to pan around here to give you a side-by-side view of these ultra wide angle cameras in this particular setting. And off the bat, you'll notice that the Xiaomi 15 actually has the wider field of view, it can fit more in the frame, although it may be tough to tell because it's pretty dark out, and these ultra-wide-angle camera sensors are quite small. They don't let in a lot of light, and also this is being shot at 60 frames per second. At 30 frames per second, this will be a little bit brighter, but let's go ahead and move into the main camera so you can see what I'm talking about. On the 17 and on the 15, you can see everything really brighten up. These main sensors are much larger. They let in more light. So I'll do the same thing. I'll just pan around so you get a side-by-side view of these main cameras in the same setting here and how they compare. And let's go ahead and move into the telephoto camera now. So on the Xiaomi 17, 2.6x telephoto, and same thing on the Xiaomi 15, 2.6x telephoto. And we'll do the max zoom here. So we'll zoom all the way into 15x here on the Xiaomi 17. And we'll do the same thing here on the Xiaomi 15. So you can see max zoom compared on each and how it's processing it and trying to clean things up. A little bit cleaner and steadier actually on the 17 for whatever reason here. And we'll back this out to the main camera on the 15 and on the 17. And we'll pan around this way. And we'll just start walking so we can test the stabilization as well as show you what this looks like in less light. So obviously there's a decent amount of light, more lights than there will be walking on this way. There's just some cast off from the light from the building on my left. But as we round the corner, it'll be much darker, a lot less light. And of course these cameras are going to try to brighten up everything in the scene to make it brighter than they actually look. But as you round the corner, you can see there's much less light, much darker. And it looks darker on the Xiaomi 15, at least in the viewfinder, than the 17 right now. And we'll pan around this way. So you can see a little bit more light on this area here. More of a mixed lighting. You have the light from the building, some of these lights down the middle, but a lot darker here on the right. And we'll just pan all the way up onto the building and into the night sky. You can see what that looks like. So again, because the cameras are brightening things up, you can see a lot of noise being introduced here. A lot more on the 17, at least that's what I'm seeing in the viewfinder. There is light pollution, so it's not completely dark out here. So that's contributing to that noise as well. But do let me know what you thought about this low light video test here on the Xiaomi 17 and Xiaomi 15. Alright, so here's a low light video test of the front facing cameras on the Xiaomi 17 and the Xiaomi 15. This is being recorded at 4K 60 frames per second. That is the max resolution and frame rate on each. And I'm in my usual testing spot here outdoors at night. Some good amount of light behind me, as you can see. So this is some pretty optimal conditions if you're going to be shooting in low light. So this is what you can possibly expect. And at 60 frames per second, it's a little bit darker. If you want things a little bit brighter, you can shoot at 30 frames per second in low light, which is what I would recommend. I'm trying to show you the highest resolution and frame rate these cameras have to offer. And so I'm just going to start walking so I can also show you the stabilization and what that looks like here side by side, as well as move over to an area with less light so you can see what that looks like and how the video quality changes as the lighting decreases around here. Not a lot of those bright lights that I had in the background back there. And I'll pull up here and pan all the way around so you can see what this looks like with just a bunch of street lights in the background. So if you're shooting out and about at night, you might have some bright lights around. And actually both these front-facing cameras are handling those really bright street lights very well. No flare-outs or anything, pretty even exposure, all pretty good to me. And I'll come back over here in this area with less light so you can see what it looks like here in the much darker conditions here. And dingier light so you can see this kind of warmer color tones. And in the viewfinder, the Xiaomi 15 is actually looking a little bit better to me in this situation. But that could just be the viewfinder. Once this processes and you're seeing it on YouTube, it might be a little bit different. But let me know what you thought about this camera comparison between the Xiaomi 17 and the previous generation Xiaomi 15. And I think both of these phones' camera systems do very well for base model phones, not being labeled as Pro. They do both have a lot of Pro features like RAW photos for photography, log video for shooting in video. So if you want full control over your coloring and how everything looks in your photos and videos, you have that option here on both these phones. They also have promos, a bunch of filters, So a lot of good things for base level phones, a lot of pro features that you'll see in most other phones, pro models. They also have some pretty long range zoom, I think 15x for videos and 60x for photos, which is much farther focal length than we have on base models here in other phones in the US. So I think for base model phones, these cameras offer a lot. And the upgrade this year for the 17 is going to be the selfie camera sensor. It's a better sensor. I think Xiaomi's also upgraded their selfie processing. Given the emphasis on selfie cameras this year across the board for manufacturers, I think Xiaomi's really stepped up their selfie game. Although, again, like I said, for some reason in this particular scenario in the viewfinder, I think the 15 looks a little better, but either way, it's going to be really tough for both these cameras, especially front-facing cameras, small sensors, and some pretty low light conditions like this. But let me know what you thought about the overall comparison. Do you think Xiaomi 17 has improved enough over the 15 for you to actually notice a difference and maybe potentially want to upgrade or change? If you have another phone manufacturer right now, maybe the Xiaomi 17 might be something that you're looking at, especially the global model. The Xiaomi 17 and the 15 global models have full Google services and are working pretty much flawlessly for me here in the US on US-based carriers. I'm not having any problems. I can do everything I can do with all my other US-based phones, mobile payments, everything, Bluetooth, all the things, Android Auto, everything works fine. So let me know if you have any questions about the camera systems or about the phones in general. Drop a comment. I'll try to answer what I can. And as always, thanks for watching.